Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today, the session on Edtech here, choosing the right products for the classroom experience, student experience, to really augment the learning experience for both people, teachers, and students. Really excited to have various people in this panel covering multiple parts of the industry, from end users like English learners who have sifted through various products to founders who have started, have made really cool products on the tech side that have really benefited the greater industry in terms of language assessment, and from people that have managed schools and been on boards of assessments, and people that are researchers like Dr. Rashid here, and have extensive experience working in the school systems and choosing and evaluating products. And so we're really excited to get this panel kicked off today. And thank you so much for attending today. It's been a pleasure to learn and be fed with so much knowledge today, original insights from various speakers today. So thank you so much for attending. Really appreciate that. If you ever do have a highlight or insight, please send it to us. Please tag us on our social channels on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. I think we're on Instagram too. Whichever one you prefer to use, we would appreciate that. Well, now we will get into some introductions, and it's a pleasure. It's an honor to be interviewing each one of you and to have a roundtable discussion here. So we will start with Brigham and then go to Vidya, Frederick, and then Dr. Rashid. And please just give a brief introduction and background to our audience. Brigham, I'll let you take the floor.
Great, thanks, Ben. I'm Brigham Tomko. I'm the CEO of Immersion. We use artificial intelligence to do language assessment in a wide variety of applications. My background, I'm an English as a first language speaker, but I also speak Thai and a little bit of Spanish, so I'm a language learner as well, as I'm sure many of us are. But I bring some unique experience having operated companies throughout the world and use language and language products in those companies, as well as having run a language tutoring company and been a language learner and lived in Thailand for a couple of years. So I hope to be able to bring some good corporate insight as well as some of those insights I've had as a learner myself.
For that, Vidya.
Okay, thank you. So everyone, hello, my name is Vidya. I am from Indonesia, and I am a continuing student of the English language, and I'm also a student of Halo. So yeah, I don't come from the language teaching background, the language teaching industry, or the Edtech products. I'm actually a pharmacist. I studied pharmacy back in college, and I currently work for a pharmaceutical company. And I hope I could give some perspective as a language learner that could be, I hope, beneficial to the educators and the Edtech leaders. Thank you so much.
Pleasure to have you, Vidya. Thank you so much. Frederick.
Hi, everybody. Nice to be here. My name is Frederick. I'm sorry about the light and the video. Something's wrong with my webcam today. No worries. I am a Frenchman who lives in Spain. My background is from the management consulting, where I worked for 12 years, and then the next 20 years I was working in the language education business. I have been I was the CEO of a chain of language schools, the largest chain of language schools in Spain, where we also did teacher training. We also did agencies for study abroad. We did online courses, and we did testing and examining. And then in the last 3 years, I've been working for several examination boards after an experience that I had with IELTS, Cambridge, Pearson. And then after that, I was working with LanguageSet and now with Trinity College London. and Trinity College London is a well-established examination board that has been in the industry since 1877. But that doesn't mean that it's not very innovative. It is reputed for its innovation, and not only technological innovation, but also academic innovation. And I'm very pleased to be here because we are in the process of acquiring different technologies and looking at startups in order to complement our range of services with different approaches to testing and assessment.
It's a pleasure to have you. Dr. Rashid?
Thank you. My name is Rashid Al-Ma'mari, and I am actually from the Sultanate of Oman. I've been teaching for the past 20 years as an English teacher in the Center for Preparatory Studies at Sultan Qaboos University, Oman. And throughout the 20 years, actually, I have done extensive research in English language assessment and curriculum evaluation. And I've been recently involved in so many research projects, trying to improve the existing curriculum that we have in the center and providing consultancies all around the country, actually. So that's me in brief. Thank you. It's really good to be here and to kind of, share insight and learn from my fellow colleagues here in this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for your introductions. And at any time throughout this panel discussion, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask a question in the chat. Also, there is right under the chat, there is also a question, a specific box for questions. So that way we can easily identify between question and just general conversation, so we don't lose your question. And so we're going to get into some questions here. Great discussions and topics surrounding EdTech, how to evaluate different products, especially I think a lot of things have changed with COVID, and different priorities in understanding what we need for our students. And that's going to vary based off of different audiences, based off different parts of the industry. So with that being the case, I want to start off the first question is, what kind of tech or EdTech products do you need to best fulfill your role in the industry? Would love to get this going. Dr. Rashid, would you like to lead this conversation to begin with?
Well, I think of technologies actually, and educational technologies in particular, especially those related to perhaps delivering the intended content to the target student community, such as open sources, for example, open source learning platforms, such as what's really common in the market now is, for example, Moodle platform, Sakai, Camilo, Open edX. These are just examples. We also need technologies that are related to perhaps assessing the learning process and students' progress, such as Turnitin. We have Moodle again because it provides several sort of facilities. We have a new hero, Emerson, coming into assessment and delivering their first artificial intelligence-based assessment. We've got also Google Classroom. These are also some other, for example, technologies that are to do with formal and casual communications with target learners and parents. We need also some other technologies for organizing and planning teaching and learning pace. Moodle again, seems like Moodle is providing a lot of facilities here. We also need some other sort of educational technologies to take care of the records keeping and database. So this is as far as educational institutions, teachers and students' demands are concerned. Of course, this poses a great sort of challenge to the educational technology companies, as the real challenge really nowadays will be for those companies to try to come up with a solution that somehow encompasses all the facilities that I've just mentioned. So I hope to see some of the future solutions. I hope to see some comprehensive solutions that try to, touch base and try to relate to the issues that I just mentioned here.
Thank you.
Great. I have some thoughts from a corporate perspective, and I think we really have to look at jobs to be done there. One is on the pre-employment screening side, or pre-employment on the front end. And then in some companies, there's a learning and development component as well. And so looking at products on the pre-employment screening side, you need products that can quickly and accurately assess different skills within language. So whether it's speaking or writing in chat or reading in grammar, when you're doing employment screening, it needs to be quick and accurate. And your goal is just to get a number or a cut point to tell you that I hire or don't hire this person. So that's a very simple use case. And sometimes the data you need is simple. On the learning side, when you do assessment, you want to get much more data to understand the things that someone learns in detail, not just their overall proficiency, so that you can map a learning path to that. And so depending on the use case, you need different tools. Then if you are going to do learning within corporate, you need many of the tools that Dr. Rashid mentioned as far as a learning management system and content and feedback and all of those components. But that's how I view corporate. You really have a pre-employment screening use case and an ongoing learning and development use case for different technologies.
Thank you for sharing that. That's great. Lydia and Frederick would love to hear, should you have any insights on this, on the question at hand.
Lydia? We can't hear you.
Looks like you might be on mute, Lydia.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I may have just a little input. So as a language learner, I think we need the right product to help us to stay relevant in this constantly changing world. And if I could talk specifically about language learning products, we need a product that makes us understand the real world interactions, like real world dialogues. If I could pull one example from my own experience during my first years of learning English at school, so we were asked to memorize and to recite a simple dialogue between two people who just met, and it goes something like, "Hello, what's your name? My name is Kevin. Hello, Kevin. My name is Vidya. How are you, Kevin? I'm fine, thank you. And you? I'm fine, thank you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too." In real life, no one talks like that. So this is just one simple example of many. So I hope by using the Edtech products, by leveraging the technology, I hope we could all eliminate all the irrelevant materials that still refer to the traditional textbooks, traditional method, and provide the students with only useful and practical knowledge that they can actually implement in the real world.
That's spot on.
This is very interesting. From my point of view and the point of view of Trinity College London, I believe that the situation is more or less the opposite. I mean that we've been developing assessment methods that are interactive, that are real-life communication, in which the learner is at the center, in which we not only emulate, but we really have real conversations that are not script. And this is how we do our assessment. And it was quite innovative, and it still continues to be innovative. And where we are in need of technology is because we want to increase the options for delivery of those tests. So it's not that we rely on technology to supplement the interaction, the human interaction. We still have the human interaction, but we want to be able to reach a wider audience through technology. And this means that we are developing internally our own technology, and we're also acquiring technology from the outside, including startups in areas such as AI, such as proctoring, remote proctoring. It's a very important component of online remote delivery. We also looking to develop or acquire test platforms that are user-friendly, and finally apps that are that can directly be commercialized. I mean that everything that is around the core product and the assessment is what we are developing in the technology field, and not so much the assessment, because the assessment is very much based on human interaction in order to be as close as possible to real life interaction. So that's our philosophy, and that's how we want. And we are in a moment of technological explosion in which we are developing delivery methods.
I love that. Any additional thoughts on this topic? Okay. Cool. All right. We have no questions in the audience. So thank you so much for those insights. Thank you for sharing that. So on to the next question. So we have a question that says, how important is having and using the right edtech or tech products in your role as an educator, language assessor, or a student? Would love to dive a little bit deeper into this. Maybe there's some specific examples each one of you can draw upon to add some context to this question.
So anyone can start, or
anyone can start. Yeah.
I would say it's very important actually under normal circumstances, and extremely important during emergencies and extraordinary situations like COVID-19, where schools around the world, had to, take the difficult decision to close their doors and rely on a fully online or some sort of, blended approach, which is a mix of both online and face-to-face. So what would happen hadn't we already had a backup plan? At least, reflecting on my own situation and my own institution, it wasn't really intended to be used as a backup plan. That was when, like 15 years back, we took this decision to sort of, try to innovate and be more creative in the way we deliver our learning, and not to restrict this learning process to the, to the borders of classroom. So we decided to kind of, migrate and develop some online materials for the students to learn on the go. But this came in really handy, during the pandemic. So we found ourselves able in the first 1 or 2 weeks to kind of, be or deliver a fully functional version of our curriculum online. And that's helped a great deal. So when we compared ourselves with the other private national institutions in the country, really few of them, had the infrastructure to be able to respond to the emergency of COVID in such a fast time. So, considering having these technologies as a backup plan in the first place, that would have helped a great deal. A lot of the institutions and universities and also schools. Can you imagine? We had our national schools, for example. It took them something like 6 months to respond to the situation, during which most of the students were staying at home and being taught and tutored by their parents. So yeah, definitely, it's very important.
Yeah, I agree. It's extremely important, and this will be interesting to come from someone who runs a company based on AI. But we really believe that AI is, and the tools and technologies that it can create are to enhance the human experience and to bring more reach to all of those language learners. We were on a session earlier today talking about 2 billion English language learners globally. It's a fourth of the population is learning English, but many of the tools, and especially one-on-one human interaction in a paid setting, may be too expensive for many of those learners. And so technology allows the opportunity to learn to expand to many more people. And so I think in the education space and even in the corporate setting, where we can use technology is great because it allows our trained very skilled people who are assessors and educators to spend more time doing that while we use technology to enhance what they do. But overall, bring the cost and time of education down to make it available to more people.
Well, at Trinity, I must say that we believe that the way we assess knowledge of the language has influenced the way language is taught in the classroom. This is why we strongly believe that in spite of that we are also doing developments with AI, everything still remains and will remain based on human interaction, because we believe that the learner is at the center of the assessment, and it's not the language that is assessed, it's the capacity of the learner to communicate in situations that cannot be predicted and cannot be rehearsed in the classroom. And that's a very important point. We really want to assess how a person can develop the skills acquired in the classroom to interact with human beings. And this is why our developments in terms of technology tend to be in what is around the core. And this is where we have very strict specifications, technical specifications, that allow us to not only lower the costs, but also democratize the access to the services and the assessment and the certification services that we provide, and also shorten the time for the delivery of the certificates and the enrollment periods for the tests. So there are lots of improvements that we find that technology can provide us. We know exactly what kind of technology we need for that. And the technology is not supposed to replace human interaction. Yes, we use technology for the marking of some tasks that can be production tasks, such as writing or even speaking, but the interaction with an examiner is always going to remain at the core of our methods of assessment. So that's why I believe that depending on which examination board, you might feel that each of us has a different use of technology and doesn't resolve everything, but we want to retain our core identity, and we want to use the technology to maximize our reach. Basically, that's what it's about.
Actually, if I may interfere, Friedrich, I would have to disagree with you a little bit on this, because there are a lot of AI-based assessment nowadays that are using very complicated algorithms, and that can, rate and assess human to a very great accuracy. And I have tried some of them, actually. I had the same doubts. I mean, both ways, being rated or assessed by human or AI-based technology or any other technology in the market would probably have some pros and cons. So considering human rating and human assessing, you would always run through the objectivity of the marking, and you will need to train these raters to rate to a specific norm. You are likely to kind of overcome this problem if you come up with an AI-based assessment, which is really properly managed and probably sort of done and backed up. And I would like to actually probably draw attention to the solution that Immersion is currently delivering and currently putting in the market for those interested in AI-based assessment. I have tried the solution myself, and I would say with great confidence that it is actually working. I am leaning against almost 15 years of experience in language assessment research and assessors rating and so on and so forth. And I did not really expect, I mean, when I first heard about Immersion, I did not really expect that there would be an AI solution that would probably, predict and assess the learners, with this great accuracy. But you've got to try it yourself to believe. So there are some actually technological advancement that would probably make it able in the soon future for the assessment of the language to be done
yes,
fully automatically without human interference and with great accuracy.
I believe this is a grail that all the companies in the sector are pursuing. But at the moment, I can report that among all the examination boards that are regulated officially, there is none of them that relies entirely on AI. I can give the example, for example, of Cambridge Assessment, which most of you will, of course, know. They have a suite of exams that are regulated and they are based on human interaction. And then they have automated exams, which is LinguaSkill. And this one will not and will never be regulated because it doesn't meet the criteria. The criteria are based on a series of very technical academic things that you need to meet in order to be valid everywhere, in every context, with the consistency and lots of things, and the scope of alignment on the Common European Framework of Reference, that we have found that until now, with the technology that exists, there is no competitor in the field of regulated official exams that rely entirely on AI. This doesn't mean that we are not investigating it. We are funding very important universities in Europe who are developing AI tools in order to substitute human interaction, but we want to do it in such a way that is equivalent, no, better than human interaction. For the reason that Dr. Rashid exposed before, that we want to suppress subjectivity. And in order to suppress subjectivity, of course, a machine can do that better. But the breadth of assessment that the machine can provide, especially at higher levels, we feel that right now the technology is not there yet. But we are investigating, and we know that our competitors are investigating as well. And in the meantime, we continue to rely and want to rely on human interaction, but we want to make this human interaction faster, cheaper, more available, and with lots of advantages. And then we find that technology is providing lots of advantages in this area. So I think we are in a way towards this. And maybe some like immersion have progressed a lot. I don't know. I would like to look at it. But the thing is, there is a gold standard in the industry, and the gold standard in English assessment is Ofqual, the Office of Qualification and Examination Regulation in England, which regulates all exams, and all the examination boards, be it Pearson, IELTS, Cambridge, LanguageCert, Trinity, are regulated externally, which means that when we say that a person has level B1, C2, whichever, it's not just us, it's an official body that is saying that the assessment method is valid and is validated externally and is controlled and audited by an external body. And this gives the validity of the certificate and the recognition worldwide that others do not manage to have. And we believe that substituting the way we do the assessment with AI at this stage would not allow to have such a precise assessment method. Bear in mind that we have a product called Jessie, which is graded exam in spoken English, and we have 12 different levels of spoken English, all aligned on the Common European Framework of Reference. And to be so precise in the scale of 12 levels with human interaction is possible thanks to good training and good auditing and double marking and lots of protocols that of course are costful. And if we could substitute that with AI, that would be wonderful. But we don't feel that at the moment we have access to such a technology, but we are developing it. Brigham, you're mute.
Done that. No, I'd love to talk to you more about it because I'm sure we have hours that we could talk about it. But one thing I would say is when you're looking at learning and assessing, there's many different use cases for that, and high stakes versus low stakes, and placement testing and progress testing and certification testing. And so I think, as technology continues to develop, it will obviously replace some of the low stakes or progress testing first, and it may get to a point where, again, that's widely accepted on very high stakes, exams as well. And so it's interesting to look at the spectrum of use cases and how technology is being adopted along those, and what mix of human versus AI is involved at those different use cases.
I totally agree. I believe this is the way that industry is going to move, from low stake, from placement tests, from learning monitoring tools to higher stake and certification. And I believe that um, we are in agreement, so we might not have to debate that much.
I like
That's
this.
great.
This has been great insights here. I think, this is the whole point of these sorts of conversations, kind of like a Venn diagram. The intersection of different fields of thought is where truth is found, right? And so, and I think there's many, what can add layers to that are different use cases that could be synonymous with layers. And I think that's the value that startups bring in the industry as a whole, is they discover or create a technology that identifies a use case and delivers exceptional value on it. And then at the other end of the spectrum, we have a greater body like organizations like assessment boards, etc., that evaluate these technologies and over time are able to build on their own product offerings. Frederick, I wanted to go off on something you said in the last session about, if I could ask you what study you would do. If you could do any study right now, what can we do to assess the future of assessment? When you brought up a specific example of if we could do like some sort of longitudinal study that assesses the various technologies out there over time to see which ones are doing that. And I think doing that ASAP is the most important thing if that is what is needed. But I also think finding, just going back to this Venn diagram example, sometimes truth isn't found just empirically or through a significance variable. It can also be identified through user adoption and enduring the test of time, right? And I think that's where companies like Immersion come in and disrupt common ideas, or other companies. I'm just using Immersion as an example because we have the CEO of Immersion here, and so and various other things. So just some interesting thoughts that I had come to mind, and so yeah. So with time, I want to be cognizant so we don't take away from the sessions coming up at 1 o'clock. There's 2 questions. I think what we'll do is we'll keep it at, and then any last thoughts. So one question that was asked, I have pinned in the comments. It says, Frederick, you're stressing human interaction for assessment, and Brigham is talking about AI assessment. Can you resolve the discrepancy, please?
I believe that we have both responded to this, and we are quite aligned on that. So I believe maybe we can move on to the next question, perhaps.
Great. Yeah, sorry about that. Just want to make sure that that was covered. And then, okay, next question we have here by the audience is, what is the 12-level assessment app you mentioned earlier, Frederick? I believe he mentioned it's called Jesse. We'll provide more context with that outside of this conversation, unless you have any additional thoughts for that, Frederick.
Jesse is a graded exam in spoken English. It's a test that only assesses spoken English, listening and speaking, and also mediation. It's a test that can be conducted to very young learners, so it's a great advantage. That's why we have 12 levels, starting from pre-A1 up to C2. Some of the levels, central levels like B2 or C1, are segmented into 3 sub-levels. And this is a tool that is very much in use, especially in compulsory education, in order to assess the progress of the students each year. And it's a brilliant way to monitor the progress of the whole school and have a ghost curve that you can try to see which classes need some support and which are doing according to what is needed in order to reach the goal of going to university with the C1. So in non-English speaking countries in Europe, we consider that C1 is the appropriate level to finish high school, and it's relatively high goal. And this is where we as an examination board try to support the school systems in every country in order to provide assessment that will backwash on what is done in the class in order to prepare the students for the exams, not in a way that they are actively preparing the questions of the exams, but they are preparing to be able to interact at the level that is expected at their age. So this is basically what Jesse is about. But Jesse is just one of our products. The main product is ISE, which is called Integrated Skills in English. And this is a 4-skill test that is completely aligned on the Common European Framework of Reference from A1 to C2. And this is a test of a duration of a couple of hours that can be taken at any age from the age of 16. And this is the gold standard together with the Cambridge main suite in Europe, at least among high state. So, and we also have CELT, a Secure English Language Test, which is the one that has been chosen by the Home Office in the UK for visa applications of people who want to be residents in the UK, among others, Trinity, IELTS, Pearson, and LanguageSet are the companies that are capable of providing this system. And they are completely interchangeable, which means that any person who wants to apply for a visa can choose one or another. They will have a totally different type of test, but each of them have been calibrated and validated by the Home Office to certify that the level that they will give is accurate. So that's a very short summary of the portfolio that we.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. So we have time for probably one more question. For the audience, please do submit a question in the next few minutes. If it's after, we will have to move past it. But there's one last topic that I think would be relevant to discuss, and it's more, and we've touched on it briefly, but I believe there's different applications that we can, and different angles that we can approach this question. And it's more on the idea of evaluating EdTech in the classroom. And can we give specific examples? I know for many people in the audience, especially in a COVID world, the sorts of use cases, different needs have changed in a COVID world. For example, community-based and connecting students outside of the classroom is now a top priority, whereas before it wasn't, because there was human person-to-person interaction, right? Instead of just a digital LMS that has cool like AI and can suggest things to make learning more efficient and help you remember specific concepts, right? So I would love to talk just lastly about EdTech in a COVID world. What are the unique challenges now for evaluating EdTech? And are there situations where we've had to can EdTech where it didn't work? And then how do you choose EdTech specific for your students or your company? And of course, we have a corporate, and then we have obviously different industry perspectives here. So I'd love to tackle this, and would love to open it up to anyone who would like to go first.
Can I go first?
Go ahead.
I think there are many factors to consider actually about a product. And before adopting a product, can the product provide me with the facilities to manage various entities, such like, for example, students, teachers, staff management, parents, library, finance, and other areas? How this product is likely to be, received by the main stakeholders, the students, the teachers, the community, being the end users of the product. The likely benefits and unique features. How is this product likely to improve our performance, perhaps reduce, our costs, improve students' learning, improve their higher thinking skills, enhance learning and teaching process, making students responsible for their own learning, improve the quality of our work and the quality of our students' output? Would this product, the customizability of the product, would this product be easy to kind of, fit into our existing system, or would we have to establish a new system for it to run? The security features that this product is going to provide, the privacy, we would probably, check in this product if the software provides transparent information regarding its security, for example. Is this product going to be fun for users? If the product is a software, does it provide presentation capabilities? Does it provide curriculum adaptability, for example, for the teachers to edit sessions, generate user-friendly content, for example? Is this product equitably accessible by all stakeholders. And this will somehow, relate to the idea of Judson democratizing assessment. Here, I would rather talk about democratizing, educational technology here. Would it provide fair chance, to all the students when it comes to their, for example, the existing infrastructure that's available in their environment, their internet connection, whatever it takes for them to join and access this product? All these are factors that we should really bear in mind before we decide, to adopt a particular product for our institutions, I believe.
Thank you. Great context there. This is a panel discussion or a one-on-one interview for another day. That was very great answer, Dr. Rashid. Lots of topics there. Do we have any last thoughts concerning this topic before we wrap it up?
Well, yes, I would like to say that thanks to my experience of 17 years running language schools and trying to introduce technology in the teaching, before my life in the assessment world, I found that it's very critical to take the technology as tools that are going to enhance the potential of the teachers. So it means that the teachers first need to be convinced of the utility of the tools. Second, they need to be trained in order to deliver more imaginative classes using the tools. And sometimes the mistake that many schools have made is that they have invested in very expensive technology, but they have not paid enough attention to the teacher, and the teacher tends to rest on the technology as supplying their role as teachers. And of course, the result is very poor, because the end of that is that technology can work without the teacher. So if we still want to place the teacher at the core of the learning process together with the learner, and then the technology comes as a help, we need to invest perhaps more in training the teachers, in monitoring how the teachers are making the best use of the tools, and make sure that technology remains a tool and not a substitute for teacher. In some other contexts, it can be a substitute, but in the type of education that I personally want to promote, I think that technology can be a huge help to maximize the power of the teacher, but still the teacher can become a great user of technology rather than someone who is playing with gimmicks and doesn't do the job they used to do in the past.
Thank you. Is that it? Do we have any, Brigham?
I'll just say one quick one if I have time, but on the corporate setting, it's all about jobs to be done and very specific outcomes that you're looking for. And so, enough accuracy balanced with the right speed and the right cost is sometimes the right answer. And in some settings, absolute accuracy is the most important. So as you evaluate products, as Dr. Rashid and others have said, knowing what outcomes you're looking for and the job you're trying to solve using that learning product or that assessment is very important, because you'll choose different products based on the outcomes you're trying to achieve.
Thank you so much. That's great. Vidya, did you have any thoughts? Just want to make sure we include you in this last thought as well.
Yeah, with all this ongoing situation with the pandemic, I think it's very important to have the product that really cares about the factor of human interaction, because as I said to you before, not everyone can have the privilege to study in the country of the target language to get the immersion. They have the access to actually interact with the native speakers, especially during this pandemic, which puts limitations on the movement of the people around the world. So yeah, that's my take on this topic.
Well, that's fine. I'm pretty biased, but I think Holo has some use applications there. Just covers one small part of a very big problem and solution to be solved. So thank you everyone so much. We did have one question. It looks like we still have 20 viewers, but I do know that our sessions are starting. So out of respect, we'd love to end the session. and so people can attend those should they want. Really quick, the question was, hey, how can just independent teachers get access to these tools? I will follow up with you, Natalie, after this, and I will give you an answer, and I might be able to get some insights post-conference and share that. So I'll follow up with you on that. Really appreciate everyone's involvement and participation to make this panel a great experience for everyone here. Lots of rich nuggets of insights and applications that have been shared today. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a great experience. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so
Thanks very
much.
much for the input. Thank you.